won because there was a non-zero chance that there would be National Guard troops and chaos in the streets even before the inauguration of Mamdani. So it's great that that's not necessarily going to happen, or at least it's not going to happen imminently. I think, look, there are a couple of things that are going on. One is that Mamdani came the way you're supposed to come to Donald Trump. You come with strength, and you come with some kind of notoriety, with some popularity. So he didn't just win the election. He won in a way that nobody's ever seen before. He went from 1% in the polls to winning the Democratic primary in about 6 months. He's got a certain amount of celebrity. President Trump noted that there were more press there, international press included, than for some heads of state. That gets the attention of somebody like a Donald Trump. And I guess finally, look, it is part of the Trump story. The family fortune, the Trump family fortune, came from working with mayors and local officials in New York. And I think it's just kind of hardwired into him that being friendly with the mayor of New York can be a very lucrative proposition.
He said he used to want that job.
Absolutely.
It actually is a bit surprising he never actually did it. But Brianna, Republicans are planning to run against Mamdani and to paint Democrats as communists, whatever. Now that seems to be completely out the window. How do you even do that?
I think Republicans should still stick with that strategy. I have very mixed feelings on today. I think the president, to your point, did what an executive would do. Whether you like Mamdani or not, he's running the largest city in America. You are going to have some kind of conversation with him. And it's nice that they had a cordial conversation today. I don't discount that. I also think that Donald Trump is kind of setting the stage here. He's leaving a line of communication open so that when Mamdani actually does take office and starts implementing policies, there could be communication where Donald Trump says, hey, I don't think you should do that, or we're going to have problems. That being said, I was disappointed. I think, one, in Mamdani, when he was asked if he still thinks Donald Trump is a fascist, and he was, I'm not going to answer.
Let me, can I just,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me just play it, because honestly, you have to listen to it to understand, to do it justice. Listen.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about...
That's okay, you can just say yes.
Okay.
It's easier. It's easier than explaining it better.
I wish you would have explained it. That's the part. Like you interrupt him so he can explain it.
I
know
mean,
you
Trump
say
just completely
Trump just is like,
nailed him out.
But you know what? They're both talented. Believe it, you say with your charisma, great politicians, great businessmen, and what we saw was good old-fashioned gaming. They were sitting there and they understood that they both needed something from one another. They both understand, Trump especially, that this is a rising star. I want to get a little bit of whatever this is that you have on you because I recognize it in me, and so I'm enjoying it. But what I think is really interesting is that that's just for now. There could be 2 or 3 or 4 things that will be true. Like today, it was nice. It was great. I was surprised. I was like, okay, this, to your point, not on my bingo card, but I was surprised to see how well they got along. But it makes sense because while they're on 2 different sides of the spectrum, there's a lot that they have in common.
Well, okay, so I agree. They're both extremely charming. I wasn't surprised actually by this. I didn't think either one of them were going to go in there trying to say, I'm the bigger man, even though we know that obviously the president is just because of his position.
Definitely going to.
I didn't, because Donald Trump is the same kind of man who has made it clear he's willing to meet with anybody. And I think actually today is going to be problematic for Democrats because Mamdani did what Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries are not willing to do, and that is to sit down with the president and try to find some kind of common ground here.
Or be
or just be cordial.
Yeah. I have heard that talking point, but I'm not sure I buy it.
Yeah.
I do.
Because at the end of the day, the biggest weapon facing what Republicans are facing next year, which is going to be a really tough re-election for members in the House and the Senate, the economy being what it is, Trump's policies being as popular as they are, the biggest thing that they had that they could potentially run on is the S word, socialists, the C word, communists. I was always skeptical that argument would work, but now Trump has taken it off the table.
Yeah, but you saw Donald Trump essentially undermining the MAGA media ecosystem in real time. For the past few months, they've called Zohran Mamdani a jihadist, communist, a threat to America, who's incompatible with the governing style of America. You think he's incompatible with the governing style of America?
His values are fundamental. Trump is wrong on this case.
You think Trump is wrong on this case?
Zohran Mamdani's principles are fundamentally hostile to the founding principles. his idea that we should confiscate property. John Locke, the founders, they were very clear that property rights
Has he ever
under
talked
the
to Merrill?
founding.
He's never said anything about confiscating.
He said he wants
I'm
to take luxury
moderated two debates
condos.
that have interviewed him half a dozen times.
Then you would
There
know
is
that
no-
he said
There's
that.
no confiscation.
Hey,
Then you would know.
Can
You know that he said that. He said
I just say,
that
oh,
luxury
hey,
condos
this is
to
a
be taken
perfect,
if they're not in use.
this is a perfect example. The MAGA media ecosystem has made Zoran seem like this extreme jihadist.
evil
And listen,
man.
some of his ideas
The
are outside
legislation we
current
support
political
on the
spectrum.
council will force property owners before they can sell it on the public market
It's called
to
right of
sell it.
first
Why didn't Trump
to
confront
sell
him
it
about
to a
that the other
private-
day? Why didn't Trump confront him about it? Why was Trump
He said it was his honor.
Maybe he
He
did.
said
You
it
know
was
what
his
Trump
honor.
said? Trump said that we both agree on increasing
On the
the
affordable housing.
supply of housing, and
Yeah,
that's
that's
going
right.
to
So we have
I'll tell you why it hasn't taken the socialism issue off the ballot, because Zohran Mamdani's own party is facing a challenge. Because not just is Hakeem Jeffries facing a challenge from a socialist, but you have Jerry Nadler retiring and socialists running for that seat. You have Dan Goldman facing a socialist challenger. You have Grace Meng facing a socialist challenger. All these members of the House, there's probably 4 or 5 of them, are facing socialist challenges.
Although,
That's
we
the issue.
guess we should know that Mamdani has explicitly come out against the challenge.
And this is why I give him credit. This is why I give him credit,
Yeah.
because he has the most to lose. He spent last night basically telling his own DSA members not to support a socialist against an establishment Democrat.
Yeah.
Now today he's out there, chumming around with Donald Trump. He has a lot to lose on this, and I give him credit for
Yeah.
doing the right
Let
thing.
me
for the
ask
city.
you real quick on Lee Stefanik. She had a response to all of this. She says, we all want New York City to succeed, but we'll have to agree to disagree on this one. If he walks like a jihadist, if he talks like a jihadist, if he campaigns like a jihadist, if he supports jihadists, he's a jihadist. And he is Kathy Hochul's jihadist. If you're Lee Stefanik tonight, how do you feel? Because I'm not sure that
I don't think, no matter what, she ain't going to take her foot off the gas. I mean, she's going to go after him, she uses the term jihadist, but if you hang out with Hassan Piker, if you hang out with people that deny 9/11 was the responsibility of Islamic terrorism, you hang out with people like that, you're going to get that criticism. That's going to be her issue. That's what she's going to push in the campaign. I don't think she's going to take her foot off the gas one bit.
Errol, why do you think Mamdani made this pivot? In a way, I mean, it is somewhat, it's smart because he neutralized Trump in especially in the first maybe 6 months of his term on some very key issues, law and order, maybe even ICE, funding for the city of New York. Why do you think he ended up here?
Well, look, Mamdani wants to succeed. He wants to be a successful mayor before he wants to do anything else. This caricature that people have painted of him as if he's some ideologue who all he's ever wanted to do is implement this ideology. He's been in office for 5 years. That is not at all what has happened. We've seen what socialist incumbents have done. If you look at Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they have not ended the social order. They have not overturned capitalism. Bernie Sanders has been in office for how long? He's given the same speech for a generation.
Because they're a minority within the Democratic conferences, they're still a minority. Zoran didn't pass any legislation. Doesn't mean he didn't propose and push socialist principle
attempts to
legislation.
terrify the public over people because they have the socialist word somewhere in their ideology, somewhere on their website. It just doesn't work. We
They're
just
just afraid of
put
him.
it to a vote in the biggest
Right
city. We had record turnout.
Yep.
We put it to
And
a
that's the
vote. It
problem.
didn't work.
It was put
doesn't
to a vote
work.
in the biggest city, but I bet you Abigail Spanberger couldn't run as a socialist. I bet you Mickey Sherrill couldn't run. Mikey Sherrill couldn't run as a
So
socialist.
the Democratic Party
So
is
I
fully
think,
beholden to socialism.
no. I'm saying the Democratic Party doesn't know who it is, as evidenced by the point that I just pointed out. There's 6 members of New York being primary by socialists.
You think the Republican Party knows what they
There's
are
a
right
lot of momentum
Today
in New
is
York.
an
That's-
illustration.
Momentum.
Today is an illustration of what I think is really going on, which is that people don't fear socialism as much as they fear what will happen if this demon that they've created actually succeeds, actually gets along with the
Correct.
president, actually keeps the streets clean and
I'm afraid
safe,
of socialism, and I
and
want
runs
it to succeed.
the
I'm the
schools
opposite.
the way they should be run.
I continue to say voters do not care about these words, okay?
Yeah,
They
they're
don't
like,
know what
we
they
want it
mean,
now.
they don't care about them, they want to
That's
know
it.
what you're gonna do for them.
I wanna eat.
Carol Lewis, thank you very much for being here.
I just
Next,
wanna eat.
the 2 defenses Trump's been using on the economy have just crumbled as one ally is delivering this message.
I think affordability is greatly overrated.